Good morning, ACAE. That was good, but let's try it again. Good morning, ACAE. Good morning. When do we say that our morning is good? When we feel fresh and completely charged. So let us check if everyone sitting out here is feeling fresh and charged. Let us have a round of applause so loud that every corner of Taj Bengal knows there's an ACAE event going on here. This, my friend, is the beauty of ACAE. Each one of us has joined hands to make sure it reaches every year in the entire hotel. And that is why we say ACAE is not just an association, it's a heartbeat. And today, we can hear the heartbeat echoing throughout the hall. ACAE is a bond. It's an emotion, a connection, which took birth 65 years ago by the vision of few like-minded people. And this vision binds all its members into a family. A family where its past presidents and seniors act like guardians and mentor their juniors. So quite a number of past presidents and seniors are sitting out here amongst us. So we, on behalf of each one of us, sincerely thank you always for guiding us through with your experience. And under the guidance of past presidents, fellow professionals act like peers and hold hands to cross all bridges and grow together. So to all the peers from each one of us and to each one of us, a big thank you. Here, people don't ask, what will I get? Rather, they ask, what can I give? Here, nights are spent planning, weekends are spent working, and hours are given freely, not for applause, not for recognition, but for the joy of service. So, with pride in our voices and ACAE in our hearts, I, CA Rashmi Chowcharia, and I, CA Renu Modi, welcome you all to the day of Annual Conference 2025 of ACAE, when ACAE does not whisper its legacy, it roars its spirit. Now we request Advocate CA Tarun Kumar Gupta, President ACAE, CA Pramod Dayal Rungta, Chairman Conference Committee ACAE, and CA Shivani Agarwala, General Secretary ACAE, to please accompany our chief guest, Justice A.K. Patnaik, former Judge, Supreme Court of India, New Delhi, to the dais. Can we have a big round of applause welcoming our chief guests and dignitaries on the dais, please? May we now request all to rise in their seats for national anthem followed by ACAE theme song.
जनगण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मागे गाहे तव जय गाथा जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे
जो कर्म कर, विश्वास हो जो धर्म पर, हर नियति में हो गति, जग जीत ले तू। हो हौसला चट्टान सा, हो श्वास में तूफान सा, मझधार को अब पार कर, जग जीत ले तू। विश्व में उद्घोष कर, अब हर हृदय में जोश भर, पहचान तू जो लक्ष्य है, जीवन तेरा उत्कर्ष है, जग जीत ले तू। हो सत्यनिष्ठ तेरी डगर, हो रोशनी हर राह पर, अब बस यही पैगाम के, सृष्टि नए आयाम ले, जग जीत ले तू, जग जीत ले तू, जग जीत ले।
Thank you, everyone. May we now request His Lordship to inaugurate the conference by lighting the lamp. And may I also request all the dignitaries on the dais to please join for the lamp lighting. I also request ICAI past President Dr. Debashish Mitra and ICSI past President Dr. Mamta Binani to please join us for lighting of the lamp. Thank you. I take this opportunity to introduce our chief guest, Justice A.K. Patnaik. Justice A.K. Patnaik, among India's most respected jurists, served across 4 high courts before his elevation to the Supreme Court in 2009, where he presided with distinction until 2004. Known for his deep expertise in constitutional and commercial law, he continues to shape India's legal landscape as a leading arbitrator, advisor, and scholar, revising landmark texts like the Shorter Constitution of India and many more.
Recipients of multiple doctorates, he currently oversees Supreme Court mandated welfare initiatives. His career reflects an enduring commitment to justice, scholarship, and public service at the highest level.
May I now request our President, Advocate C. Tarun Kumar Gupta, to present an Ittorio to our chief guest. C.A. Pramod Dayal Rungta to present memento. And C.A. Shivani Agarwala to present 65 years ACAE mug to our chief guest. A big round of applause, please.
Rise, a word that defines this year and defines our spirit. Every year, this day becomes possible because of countless hours of tireless efforts behind the scenes.
And every year, behind the grandeur of this stage and the success of this event, there is one man who quietly shoulders the weight, driving the efforts, stitching every detail together.
Ladies and gentlemen, let us first recognize the man behind the scenes who has put in tireless effort throughout the year. It gives us great pride to call upon our President, Advocate C. Tarun Kumar Gupta, to give his welcome address.
Respected Chief Guest, Honorable Justice A.K. Patnaik, former Judge of the Supreme Court of India, Conference Committee Chairman CAPD Rungta ji, General Secretary C.A. Shivani Agarwala, distinguished speakers, esteemed past presidents, valued members of ACAE, industry leaders, friends from the media, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I would like to apologize for the delay in the start of the program because of some unavoidable circumstances, because we got the hall little delayed last night and thus there was a delay in the setup. But I think we'll try to make up the time during the day. It gives me immense joy and pride to stand before you today at the Annual Conference 2025 on the theme Rise. This is not just another annual conference, but a landmark occasion in our journey. A reaffirmation of ACAE's commitment of knowledge, values, and service to the profession. As I look around this hall, I am reminded of the immortal words of Swami Vivekananda ji. Arise, awake, and stop not till the goal is reached. That is precisely what ACAE has embodied over the past 6.5 decades. Since 1960, ACAE has grown into a vibrant institution, a temple of knowledge, where ideas are nurtured, experiences are shared, and the professionals rise together to meet the challenges of changing times. The theme for this year's conference, Rise, Rise Above, Rise Beyond, Rise in your aspirations, Rise Higher and Higher, is both timeless and timely. In today's world, change is constant. New technologies are reshaping businesses, regulatory frameworks are evolving, and global challenges demand both responses. To not just survive, but to thrive, we must all rise, to learn, to adapt, and to lead. This spirit is beautifully captured in the words of Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose. He had said, one individual may die for an idea, but that idea will after his death incarnate into 1,000 lives. The journey of ACAE over 65 years is proof of this truth, which began as an idea by a handful of visionaries, has today blossomed into a thriving institution carried forward by an army of professionals. The program today reflects this very spirit of rising higher. We begin with the keynote address of Justice A.K. Patnaik, who will guide us on the crucial subject of fiscal policy in India and how it should not only promote growth but also prevent concentration of wealth. Thereafter, we will explore India at 2030 emerging sectors with leaders from defense, energy, and healthcare, showing us the path ahead. We will then deliberate on building trust through ethics and governance, examining the roles of independent directors, compliance officers, and auditors in strengthening corporate integrity. Our afternoon sessions will take us into the future of technology with emerging technologies in AI, triple entry accounting, connected banking, and the move from generative AI to agentic AI. This will be followed by a discussion on emerging opportunities for professionals, creating Indian Big Four firms, business sustainability, and global capability centers. And finally, we will close with what promises to be a showstopper, Dr. Anand Ranganathan's inspirational session on the courage to disagree, rising above conformity in the age of consensus. Friends, this year is particularly special because ACAE is celebrating its 65th year, the Sapphire Jubilee. To mark this momentous occasion, we have released a specially curated coffee table book, Legacy Etched in Time, capturing our heritage, milestones, and the invaluable contributions of members and leaders who shaped ACAE into what it is today. Alongside, we also felicitated our past presidents and their spouses. Their wisdom, leadership, and the silent support of their families have made the real foundation of ACAE's legacy. And as we reflect on this journey, let us remember the timeless words of Rabindranath Tagore. Faith is the bird that feels the light when the dawn is still dark. The faith of our founders lit this institution 65 years ago, and that same faith continues to guide us as we prepare for the future, whether it is the new Income Tax Act, the upcoming GST Tribunal, the disruptive power of artificial intelligence, or the mentoring of the new generation. Before I conclude, I wish to express my heartfelt gratitude to our chief guest, our distinguished speakers, our generous sponsors, and above all, the members and well-wishers of ACAE who make every initiative possible. A special word of appreciation goes to the conference committee whose tireless efforts have made this event a reality. As we celebrate the past and embrace the future, let us all rise together with vision, with values, and with vibrance. And as our motto reminds us, work is worship, may we continue to worship our work by serving with dedication, integrity, and passion. Thank you, and I wish the conference a grand success. Thank you so much.
Thank you, President Sir. Your words reminds us why ACAE is built on service before self. Now friends, a quick show of hands. How many of us have had a chance to flip through this coffee table book? That's it.
Wonderful. And for those who haven't yet, you are in for a treat. Our president has thoughtfully arranged for copies to be displayed just outside this hall, so you can experience it for yourself. And all ACAE members who haven't collected their free copies of Coffee Table Book can please collect the same from the registration desk.
So go and grab your copy, because Coffee Table Book is truly special. It's not just photographs and pages, but the journey of ACAE itself. The life of this institution captured in memories, milestones, and even a glimpse of advertisement that we featured more than 50 years ago. A reminder of how far we have come and how much further we can rise together.
And speaking of rising together, every successful conference needs a captain. Someone who steers the ship, aligns the sails, and ensures that every detail, every session comes alive the way you see it today.
So that captain for us is none other than our annual conference committee chairman, whose tireless dedication and vision have made this annual conference 2025 possible.
It gives us great pride to now invite the chairman of the annual conference committee, CA Pramod Dayal Rungta, to introduce the theme of the conference.
Good morning to all of you. Respected today's chief guest, Honorable Justice ACAE Patnaik sir, President ACAE, Advocate CA Tarun Kumar Gupta, General Secretary CA Sivani Agrawal, our esteemed speakers, past presidents, members, colleagues, friends, ladies and gentlemen. It's my proud privilege and honor to welcome you all to the ACAE Annual Conference 2025. This gathering is always special as it brings together some of the finest minds from the profession, industry, and academia to share knowledge, exchange ideas, and look ahead at the opportunities and challenges before us. As we mark ACAE's 65th year, the Sapphire Jubilee, this conference carries even more significance. It is not just an event, but a celebration of our shared journey, our collective learning, and our vision for the future. It is my proud privilege as chairman of the ACAE Annual Conference Committee to introduce the theme of this year's annual conference, Rise. The word rise is short, but powerful. It means growth, hope, resilience, and the courage to move forward despite challenges. For ACAE, rise has a deeper meaning. It is not just a word, it is our vision for the future. R for research, encouraging new ideas, insights, and deeper study. I for industry connect, strengthening ties with businesses, trade bodies, and regulators. S for skilling, helping members learn, reskill and upskill to stay future ready. E for Ace, giving our members a unique advantage in knowledge, opportunity and leadership. These 4 pillars define RISE, and ACAE have been actively working on it. Through research, we have released publications, papers and case studies that enrich the professional community. Through Industry Connect, we have partnered with chambers, regulators and trade bodies for joint programs. Through scaling, we have organized summits and workshops on real estate, AI, GST, wealth management and taxation and others. And by creating an ACE, we have ensured members sign through leadership, moot courts and industry visits. So RISE is not just the theme of this conference, it has guided our activities throughout the year. This conference reflects that spirit. We begin with the keynote address by Honorable Justice A.K. Patnaik, setting the tone with his reflection on fiscal policy and balanced growth. The session India 2030 emerging sectors will explore opportunities in defense, energy and healthcare, areas that will define our nation's progress. Building trust through ethics and governance will deliberate on the role of directors, compliance officers and auditors in strengthening corporate integrity. A session on emerging technology in AI will introduce ideas like triple entry accounting and connected banking, agenting AI, etc. We'll also explore emerging opportunity for professionals in Big Four, sustainability and global capability centers. And finally, Dr. Anand Rangnathan will inspire us with his talk, The Courage to Disagree, Rising Above Conformity in the Age of Consensus. Together, these sessions will offer knowledge, vision and inspiration. As ACAE celebrates its 65th year, the Sapphire Jubilee, I believe this conference will encourage us to the rise higher, break boundaries and aim for greater aspirations. With these thoughts, I warmly welcome you all. May this conference help us truly live the spirit of RISE. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman Sir, for those inspiring words and for leading this conference with such vision and dedication. Friends, at the beginning of this session, we spoke about being charged, but the energy in this room is still on much lower. Can we have a big round of applause?
So
Thank
now
you.
the hall is charged. Now we request our chief guest to honor us by releasing the Annual Conference 2025 souvenir.
We also request CA H.K. Agarwal, Mentor Souvenir Subcommittee ACAE,
and CA Anup Kumar Loharuka, Chairman Souvenir Subcommittee ACAE, to please join us on the stage for the unveiling of the souvenir.
Thank you. This souvenir are pride in print. Now we request His Lordship to give his keynote address on Sarvajan Hitay, Sarvajan Sukhay. Fiscal policy in India should not just promote growth but also prevent concentration of wealth. So with a big round of applause, we welcome our chief guest to deliver his address.
Tarun Kumar Gupta. Mr. Tarun Kumar Gupta, the President of the Association of Corporate Advisors and Executives. Mr. P.D. Rungta, the Annual Conference Committee Chairman. Mrs. Shivani Agrawal, the General Secretary of this association. I see a number of past presidents of this association sitting in the front row. They have also been decorated. Green. I was reminded when I met the past presidents, we used to have elections of presidents, secretary, joint secretary, and all that in Rotary Club of Cuttack. And I asked my brother-in-law, Mr. K.C. Patnaik, who was then a DG Police, had a very good sense of humor, that would you like to be elected to some office? He said, I'd like to be elected as past president. I said, why past president? You have to first be a president to become past president. No, I don't want to do any work, but I like to be decorated all the time as past president. So all past presidents who are present here, all members of the association, guests, good morning to all of you. For 2 decades now, you must have noticed in the newspapers and the print media and the electronic media that the focus in India has been on growth. More and more economic growth. Whether our gross domestic product GDP is growing or not. And if it is growing, but what percentage? This is the debate and discussion which has dominated our public domain. Very few talk about concentration of wealth in India since 1990s. And I have noticed during the arbitration sessions that we have held, number of experts like chartered accountants, cost accountants, company secretaries, business leaders who are also examined as witnesses, they are focused only one thing: growth of the corporation profits, nothing else. And we had to explain to them there is also law. The law of contract, you cannot claim everything. Just because your business permits it, or your business requires it, think of the law, within the frame of law, how much you can claim. You can claim only losses in a breach of contract. So from this, I thought, I should talk to you on this subject, that the focus of fiscal policy should not be only on growth. It should also think how to prevent concentration of wealth. Now, what do you mean by fiscal policy? Fiscal policy does not mean taxation only. It's a broader aspect. Fiscal policy is the way government influences its country's economy by adjusting its spending levels and tax rates. what should be the tax rates, in what items should spend, in what fields, what sectors public investment should be made. This is what fiscal policy. So I am not going to talk about taxation policy as such. I am going to talk about broader fiscal policy, which includes also taxation, but also government expenditure. Let me come to the historical perspective first of this subject. The 18th century philosopher Jean-Jacques Rousseau, he said that there was no inequality earlier. How did it originate? It originated by invention of the institution of private property, and with accumulation of private property in few hands. That is how inequality originated historically. He wrote once in his book Social Contract that all land belonged to the community till one intelligent person circled a piece of land and said, "This is mine." And all others were foolish enough to believe it. Yes, this is his. And that is how the concept of private property increased. It's not bad, but this concept of private property, where has it led to? What is the limit to which we can go? This is what I will be speaking to you. And difficulty is, once inequality comes in a society, the society becomes very unstable. It is Rousseau's thinking that provoked the French Revolution. Because Louis XIV was accumulating property, and a lot of his feudal lords were accumulating property, and there was a big uprising in France. Louis XIV had to be executed, guillotined. French people rose in revolution. Thereafter, when the Industrial Revolution took place in Great Britain, a lot of growth came in, a lot of prosperity came in. But along with it, there was exploitation of workers. And this data of the Industrial Revolution was used by the German philosopher Karl Marx to write the Das Kapital and develop the thinking of communist philosophy, which again provoked later on the Russian Communist Revolution in the 19th century. So therefore, whenever there has been a lot of inequality, there has been an uprising, a lot of instability. This is a historical fact which cannot be denied. Keeping this in mind, when our constitution makers sat down to make the constitution, they put it in the preamble of the constitution that the people of India have solemnly resolved to constitute India to secure to all its citizens justice, social, economic and political. So economic justice is part of our preamble of the constitution. But then the preamble does not define what economic justice is. Later on, the constitution contemplates the economic justice in the directive principles of state policy, which I will mention. The directive principle of state policy in part 4 of the constitution have described the concept of economic justice, which the state must secure to all its citizens. I read out a few directive principles to explain to this. Article 38(1) in part 4 of the constitution provides that the state shall strive to promote the welfare of the people by securing and protecting as effectively as it may a social order in which justice, social, economic and political shall inform all institutions of national life. Article 38(2) of the Constitution provides that the state shall in particular strive to minimize the inequalities in income and endeavor to eliminate inequalities in status, facilities, opportunities. Not only amongst individuals, but also amongst groups of people rising in different areas or engaged in different vocations. Article 39 of the Constitution further provides that the state shall in particular direct its policy towards securing that citizens, men and women, we have seen, I am happy to see a woman there at the top of the profession, men and women have a right to adequate means of livelihood, the ownership and control of material resources of the community are so distributed as best to subserve the common good. The operation of the economic system does not result in the concentration of wealth and means of production to the common detriment, and there is equal pay for equal work for both men and women. See how the equality principles are laid down in the directory principle of state policy. Article 41 provides that the state shall, within the limits of its economic capacity and development, make effective provision for securing the rights to work, to education, to public assistance, in cases of unemployment, old age, sickness, disablement, and other cases of undeserved want. Underserved want. The expression limits of economic capacity, it shows as and when the economic capacity improves in the country, the focus should gradually ensure that these things are taken care of. Originally, when the Constitution was adopted in 1950, India did not have resources. So therefore, the Constitution makers could not make these directive principles of state policy towards economic justice, social justice enforceable. Courts cannot enforce it. It cannot give a direction to the state to provide this, to provide education, provide work, provide food, so on and so forth, because the country did not have the economic resources. So wisely, the Constitution makers thought that no, only those which can be enforced, like equal protection laws, freedom of speech and expression, freedom to carry on any business, trade, and all those provisions can be enforced. You can go to court by petition under Article 226 and Article 32 to the Supreme Court and get it enforced. But these directive principles of state policy, which require economic resources, cannot be enforced at that stage. But what the Supreme Court has said later on is, as and when your economic capacity improves, you must provide this. If you don't provide, we will enforce it. So in the Unikrishnan case, back in 2002, the Supreme Court said, all right, now right to education up to the age of 14 must be enforced. And that is how it came into the Constitution book as Article 21A of the Constitution. So, the makers of the Constitution, however, made it clear, they said not enforceable in Article 37. But they made it clear in Article 37 that the directive principles of state policy are fundamental in the governance of this country. And it shall be the duty of the state to apply the directive principles in making policies and making the laws. These were laid down in the Constitution. Thus, as and when economic capacity development of the state improved, the state was to provide economic justice to the people of India. This was the situation. But then, gradually, when the economic capacity improved, the Right to Education Act, Right to Education, free and compulsory education, was incorporated as a fundamental right under Article 21A. Right to education, right of children to free and compulsory education, 2009 was enacted. Now everybody is entitled to free education up to the age of 14. Employment was provided to the Manrega. There were funds, at least 100 days employment in rural areas are to be given to anyone who doesn't get work. In 2013, the National Food Security Act 2013 was enacted to ensure that food grains at subsidized prices to persons belonging to eligible households and the targeted distribution public system are provided. So gradually, when funds made available to the state, resources become improved, they started providing all this. Even health insurance under the national scheme up to 5 lakhs, and the state scheme, different states have also not adopted the national scheme of Ayushman Bharat scheme, and they are also providing health benefits. So these benefits are gradually coming. In other words, with economic development, these benefits are coming. And it has come to a large extent. But since 1990s, we adopted the economic liberation policy, and lot of developments took place. Corporate sector also developed, and Parliament thought that corporate sector is growing now, making a lot of profits. It must also contribute to inequality, and they provide, as you know, Section 135 of the Companies Act, that every company having worth of rupees 500 crore or more, or turnover of rupees 1000 crore or more, or net profit of rupees 5 crore or more during the financial year, shall spend at least 2% of the average net profits of the company made in the preceding financial years in pursuance of corporate sector, corporate social responsibility policy. Corporate sector was also made to, there was a resistance first, but then ultimately they have reconciled to this. And this corporate social responsibility policy includes activities related to eradication of hunger, poverty, malnutrition, promoting healthcare education, vocational skills, and livelihood enhancement projects. Similarly, mining leases, mining lessees, now by virtue of an amendment to the MMDR Act in 2015, they have created what is called the District Mineral Foundation. Every lessee has to pay to this foundation a certain percentage of its royalty whenever it takes minerals out from the area. And this is used for the benefit of persons affected by mining related operations. So those areas were totally exploited earlier. Mining took place, minerals were taken away from districts, mineral districts, but they got no benefit at all. So the thinking of Parliament is also changing. Law is also changing. And all these state policy measures have substantially reduced poverty in India, has pushed up the income of our lower income groups. And the World Bank, which had classified in 2014 India as a low income group, in 2024 has classified India as a lower middle income group. See the improvement. There is a lot of improvement that is taking place. But the difficulty is, since 1990s, at the same time, there has been a big gap. The gap between the rich and the poor is increasing. Liberalized policies have brought about a lot of economic growth, all right. But then along with it, the rich are becoming richer and the poor are not coming up to that level. They are being excluded from the benefits of growth. The gap between the poor and the rich has increased since 1990s. The earlier mixed economy during 1947 to 1980s curbed the elite economic power, which declined its share of income of top 1% of the country. Since 1980s and especially since 1990s, there was a move away from the mixed economy towards economic liberalization, incorporating a set of policies including trade, openness, price deregulation, increase in imports, tax deduction, and denationalization of industry that result in sharp increases both in economic growth and economic inequality. This is what has happened. With growth, economic inequality is also coming. I'll quote the statistics to show this. As per World Inequality Database in 1981, share of bottom 50% in pre-tax national income was 23.5%, 1981. And that the top of 1% was 6.7%. In 1923, share of bottom 50% has reduced to 15%. And that of top 1% has increased to 22.6%. In 1981, share of bottom 50% in net personal wealth was 10.9%, and that of the top 1% was 12.5%. In 2023, share of the bottom 50% had reduced to 6.4%, and that of top 1% has increased to 40.1%. 1% top has a wealth of 40.1%. See the concentration of wealth. And this is not what the constitution makers thought of when they laid down in Article 39 that policies must prevent concentration of wealth. And look at the agrarian distress. Since 1990s, the indebtedness of farmers on account of rising input costs due to removal of public subsidies, output price volatility and decline in public interest is going up. And over 2,98,000 farmers died by suicide between 1995 to 2012. So farming society has been very badly affected. Migrant laborers are suffering immense hardships on account of lack of job opportunities in their own states. It is widely acknowledged today as a gap between the bottom 10% and top 10% of the population widened enough, though the country is becoming better off. Country is becoming better off, no doubt about it. But the gap between the rich and the poor is widening and widening and widening. And this is the result of our fiscal policy. Fiscal policy should have made some adjustments to ensure that some changes to ensure that yes, we have a growth all right, but at the same time we must ensure that rich don't become very rich. If they become very rich and concentration of wealth take place, then lot of uprising will take place. Society will become unstable. This is a warning. This is a warning to all of us. Now, we must recognize that the current Indian economic model is leaving a substantial proportion of population disconnected from the growth process. The state policy must ensure growth for the largest proportion of the population by enabling meaningful support and redistribution to systematically benefit those left behind. This is very, very important. We have to think of this, otherwise the country is going to face. And I appeal to you professionals, also think out ways how to formulate correct policies and suggest in your papers, in your articles, in your discussions in different levels. Now see, because of discussions for the last several years, what has the government done now? Government and the council, now they have reduced the GST rates. The union government has now reduced, union government and the after approval of GST, 4 rates, 1%, 5%, 18%, 40%, 99% of the items currently in 12% slabs to 5% and to now only 2 rates, 5% and 18% mainly. All the common items which people require, now they are able to afford. A lot of these common items which earlier they could not afford. Health insurance, life insurance have been made exempt. This happened because of a lot of debate. Lot of debate which is taking place on these subjects, and a lot of debate that has taken place in Parliament also. If you are hearing the Parliament debates, a lot of pressure is being put. Ultimately, the government has acceded to that pressure and find no, we must change. We must reduce it. We must reduce it. And they have done it. The state is already following a policy of progressive taxation so far as direct tax is concerned, so that the rich contribute more to the revenues of the state. Which must be done? If they contribute more revenue, that will spend on the social sectors, which helps the poorer sections of the society. And then, wealth tax is not, was there. It had to be abolished in 2000, I think is 16 or 15, because it did not yield as much revenue compared to the expenses for collection. Now they have imposed on the rich a surcharge in the income tax, and that is doing well. The more the revenue the government is able to collect from the rich and spend it wisely in certain sectors, it will be very good. I don't say that you distribute like freebies. I don't appreciate distribute. Subhadra Yojana is going in Odisha, then in Beti, what is that? No, distribution is not correct. But you spend it. You spend it on health, spend it on education, spend it on skill development and reskilling, so that the sections can find good employment, remain in good health, and earn good livelihood on their own. That's what I am suggesting. These measures to ensure distribution of resources of the country and reduce inequality in India are likely to meet lot of resistance from the rich. Western interests always resist a change. When first India became independent, first thing that the government did is abolish the jamidars. But the jamidars went to courts. And the courts, who had mostly judges trained in the old system, they started obstructing the development process. And the Supreme Court was the first court which started obstructing, saying that you are taking away jamidar, give them compensation of market value of the land. Is it possible? Now, ultimately, political will survived. Amendments after amendments came in, and then that resistance failed because of political will. And this political will comes because of adult suffrage, voting power of the people. They know people can change the government also if the government does not comply. Bank nationalization. When the banks were monopolized, I don't know how many were there, were very active during bank nationalization. I was very active by then. The banks were being monopolized by big business houses, United Commercial Bank, all this. And they are taking the money from the bank, public money, the bank they are taking and putting in their own businesses. Nothing was available to the people. So, government resorted to bank nationalization in 1969-70. That was also challenged in the Supreme Court. But ultimately, that resistance also failed. You remember in 2013, the new Land Acquisition Act was made, which ensured that those who are deprived of the land, they are rehabilitated, they are given better compensation. And when the new government came to power in 2014, there was a big lobby to amend that law. The government tried to amend it, but then the government did not, because they found political resistance was so much. People were not liking it. After 2 elections, Bihar elections, and the approach was given up, amendments did not take place. So there will be resistance of the rich. They will try to put pressure to make the policies and the act, they will frustrate it. But ultimately, the forces of democracy, rule of law, the voting power, they prevail. And all these resistance are give way. And in other words, the march of equality will go on. You can't stop it. It will go on because we have a democracy now. If you have a dictatorship, and if the government is controlled by few business houses or by a small group of coterie, then things will not move. We have a democracy where people have a voting right, every person has one right, and that is gradually being of changes. No one can resist it. Now, after the collapse of the communist system, the Soviet Union in 1991, there can be no doubt that profit motive is still the most powerful and effective fuel to power our economy. And we should exploit it to the full, but we should not have unrestrained free market capitalism. It has to be controlled. It has to be controlled. As we read in the newspapers today, the pursuit of material self-interest by individual corporations has created a social order in which social and economic justice does not inform all institutions of national life, contrary to Article 38(2) of the Constitution. What has happened is, I would say, I had posed that question once Mr. Pranab Mukherjee was there in Capital Foundation and Mr. Nariman was there in one discussion. He said the Western ideas we read, particularly influenced by American thinking, they influence our mind, influence our economists also, influence our newspaper also. But can they influence us to reject the constitution? Both of them said yes. It's a good idea. But subconsciously we keep on reading the same material. Growth hi karna hai, economic growth hi karna hai, economic growth hi karna hai. But economic growth means also automation. Technology is bringing in automation, throwing out number of people. What has happened in America? Today's paper, see, full of lack of job opportunities in America. And now President does not know what to do. How to bring back employment to the Americans in the factories, in the industries, is bound to come. Because if you totally forget about concentration of wealth and you allow the growth process to take place, it has its failings. There has to be some interventions, some modulation of the model. Now what is that? Not only concentration of wealth and means of production to common detriment contrary to Article 39 of the Constitution, we have instead produced, this is very important, a privileged class who have superior status and better opportunities in life, and a culture in which material goals have become the only goal pursued in our society. So when you talk of success in our theme, rise, success should not be only in terms of more and more money, more and more income. Success should be also in terms of better and better service to your clients. That should have better service to the clients means not only ensure the clients also make more and more money and make more profits. Client should remain compliant with the laws and don't get into problem. Now, professionals in our country such as chartered accountants, company secretaries and advocates must, while advising their clients, ensure that state policies and measures to achieve economic justice for the people of India are not frustrated by the elite rich but are properly implemented. There will be always your client saying, हमको तो पैसा बचाना है, आप जो भी करना करो. One has to be very guarded. One has to be guarded. So we cannot, yes, from time to time in your debates, discussions, articles, debates and discussions in your conferences, you must focus also how to ensure that laws are made compliant, how to advise your client properly. Sir, because laws are being made, our job is not to advise the clients to how to circumvent the law. That is what I am trying to do. And you should also think strategies how to ensure that economic growth or corporate growth or business growth is accompanied also by some good work for the poor. I remember I delivered a judgment in Supreme Court against Sterlite. In Tuticorin, they were producing some copper product. Good for the country, required for telephones, required for defense. But then they polluted the environment so badly. There was death and the factory had to be closed by the Madras High Court. The matter came to Supreme Court. And we directed reopening of the factory, but told them you must pay a compensation of rupees 100 crores for whatever damage you have done to Tuticorin local area. Now today, again the factory has become closed. So I kept on telling the Sterlite people why don't you do some good work along with it? In Orissa today, if you see in the newspapers, lot of industries, lot of JSPL, Vedanta, they are doing lot of corporate social responsibility works, bringing up children, educating them, health providers. So the approach should be, in my opinion, rise in your profession, but rise not just by making more and more money. Think of rendering good service both to your clients as well as to the society. I will end by giving my own example. My father was a businessman. He was selling Fiat cars, Mahindra Jeeps. And when he asked me to join the business, I said, no, I can't do business. I'll do the profession. You know why? Because I thought that will involve lot of business means lot of problems. So I avoided it. And my entire motto of life all through was how to make a decent living by honest methods and see how far I can go. When I became a judge, I followed the same policy. I never went to anybody to say, "Humko utha do, promote kar do, Supreme Court le jao." As a result, I lost the top post, CGI post. Though I was senior most in the country when I became a judge, I did not go to anybody and kept on telling me, let's see how far I go. I did not make it as CGI, Chief Justice of India, but I did make it to the Supreme Court and did well by following honest policy of life. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for showing us that wealth must grow, but not concentrate. May I now request Ye Shivani Agarwala, General Secretary ACAE, to propose formal vote of thanks.
A very good morning to all of you. We wait with bated breath every year for this marquee event at ACAE. While every event at ACAE is a product of hard work and passion, today is truly special because we celebrate the 65th Annual Conference of ACAE, and that, I think, deserves a thunderous round of applause. To our very special chief guest, Your Lordship, Shri A.K. Patnaik sir, thank you for your most insightful deliberation. Thank you for letting us know that real growth is not just about economics and numbers, but also about equality. Thank you so much, sir, and welcome to the ACAE family. To our president, Tarun Kumar Gupta, who has taught us to serve with integrity and, most importantly, a lot of hard work and a lot of hours at ACAE. So a big round of applause to our tall leader, to our conference committee chairperson, CA PD Rungta, for stitching this beautiful event together. Most importantly, with all our heart, thank you to all our past presidents. You paved the way and the path we walk on today. And with all our heart, it means a lot to be here today, and ACAE is a product of your vision. Thank you to everyone, every member who's worked towards this day. The stage is truly set. We look forward to a very insightful session ahead. Stay tuned in, lot of surprises ahead and lot of gifts also. With that, thank you so much for gracing the inaugural session, and may I now invite all our past presidents and EC members and the special invitees for a group picture on the stage. Thank you so much. And I beg your pardon, please, to all the past presidents of ICAI, ICSI, Central Council members of the Institute of Chartered Accountants. You are cordially invited on the stage for a group picture, please. And the regional council members of EIRC, please come forward. We would like to invite you for a group family photo of ACAE.